Guess what's coming up this spring? Budgets. Yeah, I thought y'all would come up with that. Biennial budget time. And what that means is IT plan. I'm waiting for y'all. Yeah, it's fourth quarter and the Razorbacks are down. Is that what I'm sensing? No pressure, Scott. But each year, because we do have new people in the audience who may not have concluded an IT plan, and we also have some different schedules and things that we want to make sure everybody's aware of. So I'd like to introduce Scott Utley. Scott Utley leads our enterprise architecture group and analyzes IT planning efforts from an enterprise perspective. Scott?
Thank you, Claire. Again, my name is Scott Utley. I serve, whoa. What's that first step? I serve as the Chief Enterprise Architect for the Department of Information Systems, and I'm also responsible for IT planning, and we coordinate those efforts with the Department of Finance Administration, Intergovernmental Services. DIS kind of has the technology, and DFA has the finance part. They want to see how the money's being spent. And I realize that I'm last on the agenda here, so I appreciate everybody sticking with us. So I tried to talk with Claire the other day. Can we have a door prize at the end? Yeah, that'll really, this will make sure they hang out. So we're still trying to figure out something on that. And as we've really had some wonderful speakers here, and this is a wonderful facility, isn't it? You know, one of the things I'd really like to do is I'd like to see the A out there. I'd like to be able to run through it. I think that would be so cool. But anyway, what I'm here to talk with you today about is the IT plan. And one of the things I'm going to talk with you about is, what is the plan? Why we do the plan? What's in the plan? There's a couple of things that are new. And then finally give you a kind of a timeline so you have some expectations of what's coming up. And, okay. What is the plan? So we've got some things here that give you some information. In DIS's enabling legislation, section 25-4-110, it talks about that we have to develop a biennial plan. Every agency is going to do it, and we're establishing these goals, objectives, and policies. And I also want to point out there that you can see a screenshot of what the plan looks like, and this is compliments of our partners at INA because they're developing this. So, and right now they're actually working on some changes for us, so we're looking forward to that. Okay, this is I explained the plan, but really the teeth of the plan is our section 25-4-111 that really explains that in order to spend any of the state's money, you have to have a plan in place, and it has to be approved before you can spend IT dollars on products and services. So this is really why we're doing the plan. So this really has to be in place. And now I just want to kind of get back into the plan. And first, this is my low-tech area here, but I'd like to ask a question and just kind of a show of hands. Who all here is responsible for an IT plan or has some role in providing information in it? Okay, so I'm seeing kind of a pretty good mix there. So a lot of people are familiar with the IT planning process because we know we're doing this, we call it a big change, biannual, and then annual we kind of, fix the dollars to make sure they're aligned. So this really isn't going to be a big change, but I want to just kind of explain this to some of the folks that haven't seen this before. Basically, what we're looking at here, these are the categories that are in the IT plan. And the plan is just, it's just a website, and we kind of go through it. A checklist is really just kind of, it will show you what you've completed so far. So that's kind of a nice thing to have. Of course, the general, that just kind of has your contacts and information on there. And then we have the operations. And then within the operations, we've got these 4 subcategories. Hardware, software, major apps, and IT support costs. Hardware and software, what we're talking about is what you have now. So this is current. And then also what you plan to get. And I don't think I've mentioned this before, but the planning cycle that we're talking about is FY14 and 15. It almost kind of blows me away to think about we have that much of a planning horizon that's far out there. But that's what we've got. So that's what we're working with. So you guys have to put your prognostication hat on and try to figure out what am I going to buy 3 years from now? So I know that can be kind of challenging, but the other thing is that if, just because you can't think of it now, it doesn't mean, well, this is it, I didn't get it in my plan, so I can't really do anything. You can always submit an amendment to your plan, so if anything ever comes up, and in technology, we know things come up, right? So you'll always have an opportunity to submit an amendment to your plan if necessary. A couple other things on here, if you have any type of projects, we want to know about that. And specifically, we've talked about before, what is a project? And typically we say, if your project has a spend of over $100,000, that's a project. We want to know about those projects. Compliance, there are some things about compliance, like if you're compliant with Act 750 of 2011, that's an area that we want to check on. There's a couple of other things like the Arkansas Records Retention Schedule. So there's an automated portion of that. We'd like to make sure you're compliant with that, and certainly that you know about it. Security, we're doing some checks there. Are you using credit cards? Making sure you're using antivirus. Are you using encryption? These are just types of information we're trying to gather. The data center was something we added last time, and I'm not in love with the term data center, but what we're trying to get there is, do you have servers at your facility? Are you storing information at your facility? And we're also trying to understand, is it backed up? Is it backed up off-site? Do you have redundancy in place so that in case your servers went down for X period of time, you have a business continuity plan, things like that. And then finally, the cost summary, it just kind of rolls up all these costs so that you can go to one place and see all your costs, and really that becomes your budget. Okay, so that's what's there, and I want to just talk real briefly about what's new, because really there's not that much new. One thing that we had a lot of changes last time. This time we don't really have that many changes, and last time we really couldn't carry anything over because the changes were fairly significant. Since the changes, the database structure is kind of the same, we're going to carry over your non-financial data. So we'll know how many servers you had last time, that sort of thing. And what isn't going to change is the same thing as last time, is DFA really doesn't want to carry your dollars over. They want you to start from scratch so that you enter your budget in. It's kind of, they want you to think about it and make sure it's all there. We've added a new section, and it's going to be called Shared Services. One of our customers, State Library, Sally's right here, she's talked to us before in this exact forum, asking questions about, does anybody use like subscription services? Does anybody use databases? That sort of thing. Because the State Library subscribes to a lot of these things. And if the State Library is subscribing to them, and then we have others subscribing to them, well, it just makes sense that if we can come together, we can utilize these shared resources and save the state money. So we're going to start asking questions whether or not you're utilizing these type of resources, and we can understand how we can come together and do something efficiently. One of the other things that we're going to ask in this section is if you're storing information on individuals, and particularly addresses, do you have any processes in place that you're verifying those addresses? We've got several different organizations that are aware of that are doing different things. And again, wherever we can do shared services and come together on that, I think we're going to be more efficient in that. Okay, one thing that we've never really talked about too much, at least in this forum, is that after we gather all this information, what becomes of it? And I wanted to kind of illustrate a couple things to you guys, how we're using this information. And this is a really good example here, is when the last time we did this, everybody submitted all this information. We had all these software products. We had an intern from ULR that really helped us kind of pull all this information down to a spreadsheet, and then we started analyzing it. And one of the things that really stood out is antivirus. And we saw that we had 10 different products in our environment with nearly 60 different versions, which to me is incredible. I had no idea there was even 10 different antivirus vendors out there. So, but obviously, that's what the report showed. And what we did with this is a security working group was pulled together. They defined requirements. We worked with state procurement, And what happened is that what I like to call is we're managing the diversity in our environment, that we reduced the 10 vendors down to 3, and then we really negotiated some pretty strong pricing. So, and the end result is that we have a more homogeneous, more secure environment at less cost. So this is the type of thing that we would try to follow this model on and other things as well. And I think we've done something similar to encryption, and we're looking for these other opportunities as we move forward. This might be a little bit of an eye chart, but I wanted to kind of, maybe you guys can see it because we've got so many TVs in here. This is really cool. What this shows is the different hardware types and then the vendors. So that you can see these by the little categories. Like, for instance, Dell is by far and away providing more hardware gear across all different hardware types than any other vendor by far, nearly almost combined. Because certainly over 50%, I think it's 51%, we'll see something later. But you can this kind of illustrates the type of gear that's in our environment. And then hopefully if we can see these types of things, maybe we can go to Dell and say, look, we're buying all sorts of products. And we're only buying printers today, but we're also buying servers, we're buying laptops. Hey, we need a better discount. Come together on us. Show us some love. Here's another, another percentage that you can see the type of hardware types in our environment. I would expect this to change a little bit because desktops are really huge, and it's amazing to me that we've got this many printers. So it makes sense to me that we've got more network fleet printers than a lot of personal printers, but this is where we are now. And then some of the questions that we're asking, we're really encouraging people to have full duplex. We really want to encourage people to, save the environment. This is kind of a green thing. We've also asked questions about Energy Star compliant. This is an interesting question that we asked about what operating system you're using. And XP is by far and away, the leader on this, and I would expect some big changes on this going forward. Because in April 2009, XP is out of mainstream support. So that's for 2 years we haven't had mainstream support on XP. We're in what they call extended support right now. And in April 2014, that goes away. So in April 2014, there's no further support for XP Service Pack 3. So that's within our planning horizon. So I'm expecting some changes here. So there should be some big changes. This screen shows that major applications. So when you report on the major applications that you have, this shows by agency what the application name is, whether it's citizen-facing, how many users, when it was first deployed, and the total cost over, that's a 2-year cost there. So because we're looking at a biennium. So we're just trying to understand what major applications in our environment, maybe there's more opportunities for cloud services or shared services. This is a similar, it shows by projects. So again, you can see by the agency, their projects, when the project expects to start and end. And then projects don't necessarily have to be for the biennium, because a project could span 5 years. I know the Department of Finance Administration had a tax system rollout. That was a 5-year rollout. So, and then the project cost really is the whole cost over the length of the project. Okay, this is really my last slide. I just want to really run through this, but last time we had some feedback from some folks that said, hey, we started this process too late. So what we wanted to do is we've heard that request and we've been trying to move up the process. We've got a few changes, we're working with INA, and we're not far off on this. So we want to start the middle of February, and so that gives the folks that are ready to get an earlier start, but we're not changing the end date. We still want everybody to complete by the end of June. So we know we had to kind of prod some folks last time. So I would encourage everybody, know the type of information that's in the plan. Know where you can go and get this information. Your benefit will be your plan for your organization. It will be more accurate, it will be more complete, and it will be timely. You'll submit it on time. I really appreciate that. So really, that's all I've got, and I do want to leave time for any questions. Does anybody have any questions? Claire?
Hey Scott, what if I need help completing my IT plan and I don't know where to turn? What do I do?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. One of the things that we wanted to do is that as part of completing the contacts on here, we know who is responsible for the IT plans in your organization. We are going to send out emails to everyone, and what we'd like to do is hold something like a workshop. And then this workshop, we would explain the type of information that's in the plan, and then how you would go about completing the plan. And one of the things that we did last year, and of course we'll get each opinion on this, is that we held sessions in DIS for people that want to do more than just find out what's in the plan. They want to do hands-on. They want to enter it themselves. And then sometimes, you know, some of these small commissions are only, you know, a couple of folks, and they're not really sure of, you know, how do I go about doing it? Do I use this? Do I use that? Well, we can use the DIS training room, and when you have those questions, you can also kind of bounce these off your peers too, because you can say, hey, what are you doing? This is what I'm doing, and we can kind of facilitate those things. So look for an email from us asking whether or not you would like to participate in a workshop, and then we'll ask for something similar for those that want to do the hands-on. Good question. Anything else?